Before we jump into the details, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, so you never miss an update on the latest crime cases we unravel together. Jepsy Amaga Kalungi, a 22-year-old Filipino woman residing in Carmen, Cebu, Philippines, had a family of 5 siblings. Her mother, employed in Hong Kong, contributed to their happy and nurturing environment. Jepsy pursued her education specializing in information technology. A tweet from her college years compared girls to phones, expressing the desire for affection and communication, but warning against the consequences of pressing the wrong button. Yearning for a peaceful family life with a loving husband and children, Jepsy sought her true love online. She found Dane Oliver Kalungi from Colorado Springs, United States, who was 34 at the time. After months of building a connection, they decided to take their relationship to the next level. In 2017, Jepsy moved from the Philippines to the United States and married Dane in July of that year. Official court records indicate that the divorce was officially finalized in January 2019. As Jepsy prepared to return to the Philippines for a fresh start, she communicated her plans to her mother, friends, and her new boyfriend. Concerns arose among Jepsy's family as they received no updates from her. When her mother inquired about her whereabouts, Dane claimed he hadn't seen Jepsy since the divorce was settled. According to him, Jepsy was preparing to travel back to the Philippines, possibly visiting friends in Mexico or Chicago. Growing increasingly worried, Jepsy's family resorted to online communication to find her. Despite their efforts, there was no response to emails or phone calls, deepening the mystery surrounding Jepsy's disappearance. Her family decided to report her as a missing person. Colorado Springs police began searching for her after receiving a call on April 4 to check on her welfare. They were unable to contact her, so they conducted a preliminary investigation and initiated a missing person case report. The Colorado Springs Police Department Homicide launched an investigation into Jepsy's disappearance on April 4, 2019, but Margie Amaga says March 20, 2019, was the last day she spoke with her daughter. The police performed wellness checks on the Kalungi's apartment in Colorado Springs 3 times in late March and early April. The officers involved said that there was no answer at the apartment when they were there. They spoke to the manager of the apartment complex to check the place. They found out that the apartment was clean and looks empty for personal belongings. They did not find any items that would have belonged to a woman, or specifically Jepsy's Kalungi, in couple apartment. Dane Kalungi also left Colorado to stay with his father in California. After Officer Mathis failed to locate Jepsy on this welfare check, he received Dane's number from the apartment manager they lived at and called him. Dane said his wife left on March 27 due to marital issues, and that he hadn't heard from her since and was not worried about her whereabouts. Dane also told Mathis that she went to visit a friend named Gina. Police suspect the Gina in question lived in Chicago, who they contacted. When Mathis contacted this Gina, she said that she had not received any contact from Jepsy about a visit and didn't know where she was. Days after the search, Dane broke the lease on the apartment. On April 16, police executed a search warrant on a car linked to Dane, but did not find any incriminating evidence. Just over 2 years 2021 after Jepsy's disappearance, Dane Kalungi was back to Colorado Springs because of an illness in his family. On this trip, Dane had lunch with his ex-wife, Elaine Kalungi. Dan Kalungi admitted to his ex-wife the murder of Jepsy Kalungi. 3 days later, Elaine contacted investigators to inform them of the conversation. With her consent, detectives arranged a recorded phone call to learn more about a domestic disturbance between Dane and Jepsy from March 20, 2019. Elaine says she was also a victim of domestic violence from Dane on a handful of occasions in their 10-year marriage. It was Elaine that set up the April 3, 2021 phone call, in coordination with police, where Dane discusses the murder and disappearance of Jepsy. The call took place on April 3, 2021. The recording lines up with what is laid out in the arrest affidavit, which claims Dane killed Jepsy after a domestic violence incident inflicted serious injuries, and that he decided to kill her after he saw that Jepsy was suffering. Dane in the phone call says he wanted to stop the words coming from her mouth, for just a second, but realized after that it was more than a second. In the phone call recording played in the trial, Dane said that the day after the murder, he drove his child off at school and went to work, before he drove to Florissant and buried her body in a remote area there, saying in the phone call that, "She was in my trunk and then after work I drove to Florissant and found a spot and like I just stuffed her and..." Hold on a second. Yeah, I went to Florissant and no, I like said goodbye to her before I put her in there and tried to apologize a million times.
We begin with developing news at 5 o'clock with a first-degree murder charge against the husband of Jepsy Kalungi. She is the young Colorado Springs.
Dane was arrested in New Mexico, USA for her murder. Kalungi was arrested on June 16, 2021 in Albuquerque, NM. His arrest occurred 2 weeks after the call with his ex-wife, the affidavit states. He has been charged with first-degree murder and remains in custody without bail. Dane is accused of carrying out the murder on March 20, 2019 in their Colorado Springs apartment. Around 10:30 p.m. police said in the hearing that they received a phone call from Jepsy's number at 10:30 p.m. and attempted to contact her back twice at 10:31 and 10:32 p.m. The 911 call was the last call Jepsy's phone made. Officer Lee says Dane told him that he used a shovel to bury Jepsy, but had gotten rid of it after. Lee also said that Dane had familiarity with the area, as he went to high school in Cripple Creek and often visited a friend who still lived in the area. Colorado Springs, nearly 10 months after the arrest of Dane Kalungi on accusations that he murdered his wife, 26-year-old Jepsy Amaga Kalungi, evidence was presented in a preliminary hearing, including a recording of a phone call between Dane and his ex-wife Elaine, where Dane discusses the murder and disappearance of Jepsy. At the end of the hearing, Judge Jessica Curtis ruled that the trial will move forward on first-degree murder charges, rejecting the defense's argument that the evidence presented showed that it wasn't premeditated. The evidence also included testimony from the lead detective on the case, Colorado Springs police officer Lee, and a CSPD officer who conducted a welfare check following Jepsy's disappearance in March, Officer Mathis. Officer Lee made the decision to change the arrest warrant from second-degree murder to first-degree murder after hearing the call. He said the possibility that Dane could have gotten Jepsy help from her suffering, rather than ending it, was what influenced that decision. Dane's attorney argued that the secretly taped conversation with his ex-wife was a false confession. But the jury was not convinced. Testimony said that Dane did not deny the killings. Lee says Dane agreed to have strangled her, and confirmed that he had seen her suffering. According to the same testimony, Dane even assisted police in the search for the body of Jepsy. Lee says Dane tried hard to point out on a map where he buried her, but the search was ultimately unsuccessful. Dane Kalungi's attorney Jonathan Stafford during the defense's opening statement claimed that his client is innocent of killing his wife, and that the confessions from Dane Kalungi that the prosecution's case hinges on were coerced out of him. Dane Kalungi said to his father at one point, "I'll even confess to something I didn't do." Stafford alleges that his client confessed because his ex-wife claimed she wouldn't allow him to see his son unless he did the right thing, and that he confessed to CSPD Detective Mike Lee in 2021 because he told Dane Kalungi that he would help him if he did. The prosecution during its opening statement told the jury that despite Jepsy Kalungi's body never being found, there is more than enough evidence to convict Dane Kalungi of first-degree murder in the death of his wife. The prosecution went as far to state during opening statements that it knows Dane Kalungi strangled Jepsy Kalungi to death on March 20, 2019. Dane was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict and sentence was bittersweet for Jepsy's mother, who followed the 2-week trial via livestream from Hong Kong where she works.